Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Melissa Siegel. I'm a professor of migration studies, and this is a channel about all things migration. Now today we are going to continue with our series on Ukraine, and in a previous video I've just given an update on the numbers, what we know with regard to displacement as of June 2020. So if you haven't seen that already, please go ahead and check that out. It looks at both internal displacement and international displacement. But what I want to do now is give a little update on the EU Temporary Protection Directive. So for those of you that don't know, on March 4th, the EU unanimously adopted triggered the EU Temporary Protection Directive. And the Temporary Protection Directive is an emergency mechanism that can be applied in cases of an influx of persons and which aims to provide an immediately and collective protection to displaced persons who are not in a position to return to their country of origin. So this is the first time the EU has ever triggered this directive, and the idea here is to help to reduce pressure on the asylum system and harmonize rights of displaced persons also across the EU. So it's the first time this has been triggered, and what it means is that Ukrainian nationals, as well as their family members that have been displaced by conflict, immediately get access to a number of rights. But it's not only for Ukrainians, it is also for stateless persons and other third country nationals who benefited from international protection or some kind of equivalent protection in Ukraine before. And it also applies to third country nationals if they were regularly residing in Ukraine at the beginning of the conflict and cannot necessarily easily or safely return to their countries of origin. So, but of course it's mainly covering the Ukrainian population. And what does it mean? Well, it immediately gives Ukrainians the right to live and work in any EU country. It gives them access to housing and social welfare assistance, medical assistance, access to education for children, and a basic bank account and more. All they need to do is register. But of course, it's the first time that this directive has ever been implemented. And so the question now is, well, how are different countries in the EU implementing this directive? So I want to give a little update here on what we know about how countries are actually doing that. And I'm going to give an overview now based on information from the UNHCR's update on the EU Protection Directive in practice. I'll link also this report down in the description below in case you are interested. So what UNHCR has done is compiled a non-exhaustive list of practices that EU countries have employed when processing applications for temporary protection. All right. So of course, we at UNU-MERIT, where I work, are very interested in innovative solutions to global problems or to problems that we see within a policy sphere. So here we're also quite interested to see what kind of solutions different European countries have come up with when implementing this temporary directive. There are two mandatory categories of the directive's scope. That's kind of non-negotiable. But member states are free to add additional categories. So the two mandatory ones, as I mentioned before, are Ukrainian nationals who are residing in Ukraine and their family members who have been displaced on or after February 24th. And then, of course, these other stateless persons, right? Or people who had protection. Now, countries that offer protection to Ukrainian nationals living within their borders before the crisis actually began were countries like Germany, Ireland, Finland, and Spain. And now we see countries offering protection to third country nationals with short-term residence permits in Ukraine who are unable to return to their country of origin. We already see quite a few countries doing that. We see Slovenia doing that, Luxembourg, Portugal, Finland, and Spain. And now if we look at countries who have introduced also digital application portals, so obviously this makes registration in the country much easier. We see that Slovakia has done this. Portugal has also done this, but children still need to register in person. Greece has done this, and mobile units are also used for registration in collective centers that are hosting refugees from the Ukraine. Croatia has also done this, and refugees residing in collective accommodation are also being registered by mobile teams from the Ministry of Interior. Now, there are also countries that have been quite flexible regarding the identity document requirements. So countries where expired or unofficial documents do not lead to automatic rejection of the request and are subject to a more case-by-case analysis are Ireland and Portugal. So here you can already see that they're quite flexible with documentation requirements. In Bulgaria and Slovakia, they've also been generally willing to accept combinations of documents. So, for example, an expired travel document or with a birth certificate and pretty much anything that has a photo. Or otherwise they conduct an assessment in the absence of any documents. So again, really showing flexibility to the necessities on the ground. Now, Latvia is actually also a good example of what's called an under one roof approach. So they've set up an integrated system with multiple service providers operating in a sequential manner at the moment of reception and registration. So in Latvia, a support center for Ukrainians run by the Riga municipality has actually been established, and all necessary services are provided basically under one roof, so including registration, the issuance of documentation and provision of information, access to education, accommodation, and support schemes. And we also see that medical first aid and legal and psychological counseling are also provided here, and that the center has set up really child-friendly spaces. So you can see also Latvia taking a very proactive and innovative approach to dealing with Ukrainian displacement. So I hope this gave you a quick look at how some European Union countries are implementing the temporary protection development. Of course, watch this space because we're going to continue to have updates over the next weeks and months. Of course, we know that this situation is evolving over time, and we want to make sure to bring you as much updated information as we can on the situation. If you yourself have more information on the situation, or if you're in some of these countries where the directive is being implemented, please feel free to also share additional information here. Of course, the idea of this channel is to be as helpful as possible to get out, correct information to the general public. So please feel free to join the conversation here in the comments below. If you like this video, please make sure to give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't done so already, make sure to subscribe to this channel and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of the videos that we upload every week on different migration issues. And I do hope to see you next time. Bye-bye.